but I just want to share some more newbie tips and experience from my point of view from getting this Caribbean boat and commissioning it up in the Pacific Northwest. Haven't been doing a lot of sailing, but hope to do some in a couple days, and I'll film that. But just some random thoughts. First of all, there are some benefits, obviously, to buying a ex-charter boat, and there's some disadvantages. Um, the One of the advantages is the phase-out program. Obviously, a charter boat in the Caribbean is compared to a 5-year-old charter boat is compared to roughly a 10-year-old boat privately owned in the Pacific Northwest, and that's primarily due to the heavy usage in very hot, salty, UV intense environment such as the Caribbean. So the rigging might not last more than 5 more years, and that definitely the engine hours and the level of usage on that boat, as we all know, will be more than a privately owned 5-year-old boat. So the corporate philosophy, I believe, in a phase-out program for an ex-charter boat is to bring that boat 5-year-old chronological age, but actual wear and tear age of roughly 10 years up to a level comparable to a 5-year-old privately owned boat. So they have a corporate manual that addresses their general procedures, but the good thing is the mechanics and the support technicians at these big bases, they have the resources and the experience to get this boat up to that level. So there's a lot of benefit to that, a lot of experience, and you can ask them a lot of questions. Maybe you can buy an old dinghy off them or some spare parts. You know, they provide spare parts, engine parts before your voyage, and they're very helpful. So I found that to be very beneficial. But a disadvantage is a charter boat is lightly equipped, especially in sail inventory. So when I brought the boat up to Vancouver, I went to visit ProTech riggers in North Van, and they helped me rig the boat and provide 2 downwind solutions. They're not obviously race solutions, but a downwind solution from beam reach 90 to 150 downwind angle. So what we did there is they worked with North Sails to get me a G3 Gennaker with Harkin self-furling reflex furler that is gonna be mounted on the end of the bow roller, which holds the anchor currently. We could have went with a Selden bowsprit for the tack of the Gennaker, but I didn't want to spend the extra money to get a Selden bowsprit and a ring, so they decided to weld a tack point on the bow roller. But Benetou's, or at least my Beneteau, had a very weak bow roller. You got to think, you got a 40-pound, 50-pound anchor just cantilevering off the end of the bow there in rough seas over 5 years, and it's definitely weakened the fiberglass. So we had to get that all beefed up, and they also, ProTech also welded anchor brace for a point brace for the point of the anchor. I'll show you that when I'm at the boat next. But anyways, basically we developed, or ProTech developed a Gennaker solution for the boat, and from 150 to roughly dead downwind, or very deep downwind sailing. We went with 24-foot aluminum 4-spar whisker pole that's simply going to attach to the clue of the original Ullman Genoa. It's not a symmetrical spinnaker solution, but I don't want to mess with symmetrical spinnakers anyways. So anyways, this cost me around 10 grand at least, just for those two downwind sails. So you gotta budget for that. And other areas, of course, when you're bringing a Caribbean boat to the Pacific Northwest, is you probably need a winter enclosure if you're gonna do some winter sailing, and um, actually get some quiet time in the anchorages, because summer around here is nuts. Last time I was in Galiano Montagu Harbor, there was at least 100 boats in August, and you can get your own space, but it's not exactly serene. So it'd be great to get a 7-panel cockpit enclosure, and a couple guys around here have quoted me about 14,000 Canadian for the stainless frames and the Sunbrella enclosures, a 7-panel. I'm also going to check out Iverson's in Seattle. They seem to have good stuff. Another thing to consider, which I haven't decided upon, is a heating solution. An interesting system that Phil at Fraser Fiberglass showed me was the Hurricane heating system. I believe it's propane, and it's a heat on demand system, and Phil was saying if you need a shower, this system will warm your hot water tank at Anchorage within a few minutes. So you have heat on demand. At the same time, you have cabin heat at Anchorage. So it'd be good to experience 2 or 3 days in a winter Anchorage, so you're not fighting all the crowds, and have actually some peace and quiet, as long as you have a good heating system. Another thing I got to consider is how to get a new radar system, a Raymarine, that ties in with my current 5-year-old Raymarine electronics suite. That's another project I have to consider. Just want to show you a couple catalogs that I got. If you haven't already, get yourself a West Marine Master catalog. This is a 2015 catalog, but it's broken up in all kinds of sections. And one thing I like about the West Marine catalog is they have a lot of helpful selection guides in the manual, and it has prices. So whether you're getting anti-fouling or bilge pumps or wires or electronics or whatever, you got it all in one book. And locally here we have Steveson Marine, so I got a catalog from Steveson Marine as well. And yeah, Jimmy Cornell's guides are also very good if you want to be like me and one day actually do some ocean cruising. One last thing I want to talk about is whether, as a Canadian, I saved money actually bringing this boat and buying a next charter boat. When I add up all the costs, including trucking, delivery captain, the extra survey costs and so forth, I don't think I actually saved a lot of money. But for me, it's the knowledge gained of going down to the Gulf region, and having experience checking in and checking out of Belize, Mexico, and the U.S., dealing with their coast guards, and hiring a delivery captain who's experienced in that area. And the delivery captain, Ford Smith, I basically took a offshore sailing course with him. It's equivalent, because the guy has a lot of experience offshore, and we spent 3 weeks together. So I don't think I saved a lot of money, but the whole experience and education that I received, being a Canadian and spending a lot of time with these Gulf and Central American sailors was invaluable in my opinion. It cost me about $20,000 to truck the boat from Tampa, 3,500 miles to Vancouver. One thing, if you were to truck, and this is your first time, is don't depend on just the truck carrier's insurance. Get extra carrier insurance, which I did. It cost me like $200 extra to get a Canadian insurance company to write an additional cargo policy, because the Canadian insurer was telling me, I'm not sure if it's true, but he was telling me that a lot of carriers in the US don't have adequate cargo coverage, and to really claim anything, you got to sue them, or there's got to be a third party at fault. All this technical talk, but for an extra $200 or $300, just get extra cargo insurance on your own, on top of your existing truck carrier's insurance. And another thing I noticed is in the U.S., boat insurance was running me about 2.1% of the boat value, and that includes $1 million third-party liability. But in Canada, these insurers up here are telling me they can do better than 2.1%. And in general, Canadian boat insurance is a lot cheaper than American boat insurance. I'm not sure if it's true, but it's something to check out. So anyways, just want to share some of my thoughts, and we're going to go out this Friday and hopefully some heavier winter winds, and I'll film some of that.